All right, welcome to the Krug Show, everybody. January the 15th, 9 p.m. on the West Coast, midnight on the East Coast. The wild card weekend games have come, and they have gone. And now it's time for the divisional round, and we're down to the final 8. 4 teams in the AFC, 4 teams in the NFC, and the Niners, of course, will take on Green Bay next Saturday night at Levi's. And, of course, we're back with you courtesy of Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in both spots from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. And, of course, we're also brought to you by MarinAutoglass.com, 415-883-3030. Not to mention, we are also brought to you by both Underdog Fantasy and Mojo Fantasy. And check that link in the description. Use the promo code KRUG, K-R-U-E-G, and they will match you up to your first $100. All right. Kev's in the house from Cal Poly. Kev, good to see you. People saying that, Butthead says, Lombardi's live right now since Larry is lazy. LOL. Oh, come on. Easy, Butthead. Bucko Sports says, Lombardi, Shannon, KMBR are all live right now. Larry is scared. Does this face look scared? No.
What would you be scared of?
I'm not really sure. We beat all those channels routinely. Butthead says, Larry waiting on everyone to end their shows to hog all the viewers back. LOL. Oh, come on.
Is there like a controversy going on right now?
I don't know.
What's going on? I don't know what people are talking about.
I have no idea. But thank you to everybody who's in the chat right now, and hit like and subscribe, and that helps more people find the show, find the live stream in the algorithm if you hit like. So if everybody could hit like, just take that time and click the like button. We'll boost the stream to the stratosphere and blow everybody out of the water. Kind of the way the Eagles got blown out of the water tonight. And then, of course, if you hit subscribe and click that notification bell, every time we go live, you will get a chance to get that alert on your phone saying, hey, man, Krug's going live. And you don't have to miss any of the content from the Krug Show. It is not Wednesday night. It's Monday night. But Kev's in the house anyway because we thought we would do a 1-hour wild card weekend recap and kind of tease the week ahead. And so Kev's already put the link in the chat. Feel free to jump in via the video calls if you'd like. And there you go. Jay Mills says, Larry's scared of the season ending and have nothing to do with his spare time. Believe me, there will always be something to do with our spare time. Last year, when the season ended, we jumped in subs by about 5,000 subs or 10,000 subs because we jump right into postseason mode, free agency, the draft, and everything that surrounds the 49ers, and nobody covers the draft better than yours.
Literally everything. See, like during the season, you don't have time to pick up every story because there's just too many. There's like, oh, this person said that person said this. In the off season, you're hitting everything. You're getting everything.
Mock drafts and all kinds of streaming, and we'll cover free agency start to finish, and we'll cover the rest of the football season start to finish, and the coaching hires, and who's going where, and who's, what's the Niner pivot point if they fall short. But I don't expect them to fall short. I really feel like this is their year. MF says, what happened to Patrick Connor? He got out of the business. I think he's selling steel on the peninsula, but we could hook up with Pecan again. Love Pecan. Great guy. All right, Kev, why don't we, you want to lead the way? Go ahead. You can pick the topics, and we'll hit a couple topics, and we'll do some video calls. And I've got some thoughts on Niners Packers that I want to share with the audience. But what do you want to get to? What's number one on the list from
I don't have
a
set list. Well, first, the link is pinned in the chat. So at the top of the chat, you can get the call-in link if you want to call in and give your opinions. But I don't really have a set topics. I mean, I just thought we'd review the weekend. Obviously, it started. I mean, you kind of did this morning, but obviously it started off with the Browns-Texans game. Not a lot of implications for the 49ers. Just a great game by CJ Stroud and a great team that the Texans are building so quickly. And the trade that they made with the Browns, I mean, is that not just a full circle moment playing the Browns after making that trade and just seeing the team that they were able to build with all those acquired draft picks? I mean,
it's Nick Caserio,
right
the
team.
former GM of the Patriots. What that guy has done in Houston is nothing short of miraculous. I thought we would never see another Herschel Walker trade again, and Caserio goes there and he makes the Deshaun Watson trade. That was the biggest heist in the history of the league. That makes the Herschel Walker trade look downright fair. I mean, listen to this haul that the Texans got for Deshaun Watson. Will Anderson, stud defensive end. Tank Dell, their best young receiver. John Mechie, another terrific receiver. Christian Harris, only the MVP of the game this weekend. Alabama linebacker who's everywhere, just absolutely everywhere. He can sack the quarterback. He can cover backs out of the backfield. He can cover the tight end up the seam. I mean, Christian Harris is big time. Dameon Pierce, starting running back. Kenyon Green, starting offensive guard. Xavier Hutchinson, backup wide receiver. Thomas Booker, backup defensive lineman, former Stanford Cardinal. Brandon Hill, hard-hitting safety, backup safety, maybe a future starter. Right now, and they have a 2024 first and a 2024 third. I mean, that's an unbelievable haul. They have 6 starting caliber players and 3 reserves and a first and a third in the upcoming draft. I mean, Caserio, absolutely. Picks are just picks unless you make it happen in the draft. And he got picks and made it happen in the draft. CJ Stroud and Will Anderson at the top of the draft, tremendous. And this trade and those picks have vaulted the Texans into the up and coming team in the AFC. And if they went to Baltimore next week and knocked off the Ravens, wouldn't shock me at all. I mean, CJ Stroud is playing amazing. Imagine what they would be if Tank Dell were healthy. It's amazing. And not only that, they've got a collection of defensive ends. Derek Barnett is absolutely balling. There's no doubt Will Anderson is really, really special. Jonathan Greenard is 265 and comes flying off the edge. He's 26 years old. The Texans put a ton of pressure on your offensive tackles on defense. And then they've got big-time guys like Derek Stingley on the back end. So, I mean, it's a rush and cover game, and they can rush and they can cover. And then they've got big weapons on offense, even without Tank Dell. So, and a star left tackle in Laramie Tunsil. The Texans are for real. They're not getting it done with smoke and mirrors. It's not all CJ Stroud. They're loaded, and it shows. And they're just, right now, they're scary. And if there was one theme from this weekend, it was the youth is being served all around the league. The youngest players in the league on every team are pretty much leading the way. And you saw it in that Houston game. Stroud was awesome. 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, wasn't sacked once. They ran it effectively. Brevin Jordan is another super fast, flexed out tight end. He had a 76-yard touchdown. He's got Dalton Schultz. He's got Nico. He's got Brevin Jordan, John Mechie, Robert Woods, Singletary, Pierce. I mean, Stroud has got good weapons, and the arrow is pointing straight up on the Texans. Maybe not Dallas, but Houston is going to own the state of Texas for the next 5 or 6 years.
I mean, it's the power of the quarterback, is it not? The most important position in any sport is quarterback. It's just such an important part of football. And in that trade, it was Deshaun Watson. I mean, it wasn't necessarily like they got CJ Stroud from that trade, right? That wasn't included in the trade,
No.
that pick. But you have CJ Stroud and they have Deshaun Watson. And the Texans are on the up and the Browns are kind of on the down. I mean, the Browns still made the playoffs. They were 11-5 or 11-6. So Still a good team. I think they well overperformed what they should have done this year with PJ Walker and Joe Flacco. Are you kidding me? I mean, they still overperformed, but I mean, you're a happy guy if you're a Texans fan.
Where was Myles Garrett in this game, by the way? Myles Garrett was as good as anybody all year, and he totally disappeared in this game. The Browns had one guy that showed up on defense, and his name is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He had 9 tackles, 8 of them were solo, 4 tackles for loss. He flew around and made play after play after play after play. Kareem Hunt's got a ton of heart as a runner, as a receiver. He did his part, but Flacco wasn't any good. And Amari Cooper is physically not 100%. And the Browns' offensive line kind of fell apart as the year went on. That was a huge surprise. It's amazing, really, if you think about it, they won 11-6 because their defense was awesome. And Flacco had a nice save to their year. But their offensive line was putrid this year. And still, the Browns found a way. So I like the Browns' future. They were really good on all 3 levels. But, man, 45 points by the Texans against the number 1 defense in football. That was something to behold.
I'll just touch on this game real quickly because probably, this is not super exciting. But, the Chiefs just dominated the Dolphins. And that was one of the games I definitely got wrong this weekend. I thought, I don't know. I just thought that the Chiefs weren't the same team, but it's pretty apparent that with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, something special's happening. And just the Dolphins, their effort was not there yet. It's the cold weather, man. I mean, it hurts to hit. And you could see there's a viral play where Mahomes just ran through 2 defenders who basically were like it was practice. Like it was a no contact practice. Like there was just no effort to make any tackles in that game. The Dolphins folded.
They're hurt. There was no Jerome Baker. There was no Van Ginkel. They lost Jalen Phillips. They lost Bradley Chubb. They had to sign Bruce Irvin and Justin Houston literally on Tuesday before the playoff game. It's a rush and cover game on defense. They had 0 sacks of Mahomes. And, they also, I thought the in-season Hard Knocks was a bad decision by them. It was freezing, which negated some of their speed. And the reality is Tua's not the guy. And I've seen some stories where some GMs, Mike Sando has a piece out saying, quoting some anonymous NFL general managers saying that Miami's best game plan this offseason is to trade Tua to a quarterback needy team and go sign Kirk Cousins. And I agree with it. If I were them, I would do exactly that. I'd go sign Kirk Cousins, and I would trade Tua Tagovailoa. He doesn't read coverage. He's not durable. He's not mobile. He was accurate at Alabama. I don't see what he does well in the NFL. That guy's so overrated, and it's pretty clear that if you can take away his first read and make him go through his progressions, he's like a fish out of water. He has no idea what he's doing. So, if I were the Dolphins, if I ran that thing, I would trade Tua and go sign Cousins and turn the thing over to Cousins and see what you can get for Tua and see if you can draft a few more pieces. They also have so many weapons that run around you and run by you. They need one Niner-like weapon. Kittle, JJ, Debo, Ayuk, these guys, Juice, these guys run through you. Everybody with the Dolphins runs around you and by you. They got enough speed. They got to have some meat and potatoes. They got to have one either back or tight end or receiver that's really physical, and they lack that right now. A go-to receiver.
What were your thoughts on the Rams-Lions game? I was thinking before the game, if there was one team you had to ask me, what was the one team you were kind of afraid of playing? Not afraid, but you wouldn't want to play in the next round for the Niners. It was the Rams for me, just because it's a divisional team. They're getting hot. You didn't play them with their pieces. You haven't really seen them yet at their peak. Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, obviously great 5th round picks for that team. But the Lions knocked it off and got their first postseason win in I think 20 plus years. What were your thoughts?
The Lions are a complete football team that needs a couple more pieces to win it all. The Rams are 1/3 of a football team. And Stafford was great, and Puka had 9 catches for 181 on 10 targets. He was great. Kyron's a legitimate weapon. Tutu and is a legitimate weapon, but Cooper Kupp is long in the tooth, doesn't look the same. The Rams need serious help on the defensive side. They're not a great defense. And I mean, there was all kinds. I mean, the Stafford hit that he took there, I mean, the concussion protocol thing's a joke. His head was spinning, his eyes were rolling back in the back of his head, and somehow they okayed him to come back in the game. He got absolutely obliterated from 2 sides and had his brain scrambled, and they somehow let him back in that game. So I thought that was a low point for the NFL's concussion protocol. And then, Kirby Joseph, I mean, what the hell is that guy doing? I mean, that guy's one of the dirtiest players in football. That hit on Higbee was flat out dirty. I mean, whether he led with his head or led with his shoulder pads, he went right at the guy's kneecap when he was fully extended. And it's a full ACL. And I'm sure Higbee's probably done for the year next year, done for a good portion of the year. That thing was dirty. That was a dirty hit. I don't care. I'm not a Ram fan. I'm not a Higbee fan. But I'll tell you, I'm a straight shooter, and I'll tell you when it's dirty, and that was dirty. So they gotta, change the rules or, incentivize these guys not to go low. I mean, that's awful. I mean, that could have been a catastrophic, ugly, leg injury on national TV. I mean, it was just so wrong on so many levels. So I hated seeing that. As far as the Lions go, though, you know what? The Lions money players played money. I mean, Jared Goff was tremendous. He took care of the ball. Montgomery did just enough on the ground. He made that beautiful play at the end for the first down. Amon-Ra, 7 catches for 110, showing everybody that said that he wasn't a Pro Bowler that he's absolutely a Pro Bowler. Jahmyr Gibbs is a nice player. I mean, he had 12 touches. Real good game for Gibbs. And then Aiden Hutchinson, my God. And C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I mean, C.J. Gardner-Johnson's a big-time player. Anzalone had a tremendous game. Brian Branch played hurt. But Aiden Hutchinson, who's from Plymouth, Michigan, 6 tackles, 4 solo, 2 sacks, couple tackles for loss, 5 of Detroit's 7 hits on the quarterback came from Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, they've got one of the best offensive linemen in Penei Sewell, one of the best defensive linemen in Aiden Hutchinson. They're both super blue chip guys they took at the top of the draft. I think Detroit is absolutely going to wind up in the NFC Championship game. Hopefully it will be at Levi's against the Niners.
Wait, why wouldn't it be at Levi's?
The Niners lose to Green Bay.
Oh, I'm like they have home field
Detroit.
Yeah. And then lastly, before we get to today's games, what were your thoughts on the Packers-Cowboys game? I mean, I'll just let you go at it first, and then I'll give my opinion. I
mean, I called this one all week. All right. I mean, I told everybody who wanted to listen to me that Green Bay was better than Dallas, that Gutekunst had established real momentum. Part of having some insight into these games is you got to know the talent. All those young players for Green Bay are ball players. Romeo Doubs, Luke Musgrave, Dontavian Wicks, Tucker Kraft, Christian Watson, Bo Melton, Jaden Reed, Aaron Jones, Jordan Love. I mean, they're real. They got a ton of weapons on offense. I thought LaFleur made a great decision by taking the ball early. Dallas was 10-0 when they scored first, 2-5 when they didn't. So Green Bay won the coin toss and said, "Give us the ball." They drove down, scored, and never looked back. They went wire to wire in that thing. Quay Walker, another great pick by Gutekunst. They've got a couple guys in the back end in Darnell Savage and Jair Alexander who are absolutely outstanding at taking the ball away. Now, Alexander had a recurrence of his left ankle injury, so I don't know what his status is going forward. The other guy they have, the linebacker Kingsley Enagbare, he tore the ACL. His season's done, so they did lose a guy, maybe 2. They are going to have to travel from Dallas back to Green Bay, and then to San Francisco on a short week. Niners have a one extra. Not only did the Niners have the rest, but the Niners also get the one extra day because now Green Bay's got to do a short week turnaround and travel. But they're so young that they don't know that they're not supposed to be here. And I'll tell you, the first quarter of the divisional round is going to be so vitally important because the 49ers are going to have to do two very difficult things in the first quarter. They're going to somehow have to halt this unbelievable momentum that Jordan Love has. He is in a rhythm right now that is second to none. He can buy extra time with his legs. He's got a strong arm. He's making an assortment of throws. He's throwing it to any receiver who's open. It's a well-devised offense. They're in major league rhythm right now. So the Niners defense is going to have to take Jordan Love and this Packers offense out of this crazy offensive rhythm they're in. That's one. And then the Niners, with 21 days off offensively, I think defensively they're going to benefit from the extra energy and the rest, the focus, the, bumps and bruises, the healing. That all helps them on defense. On offense, 21 days is a long time. If the Niners start the first half rusty, I think we just saw what it could look like. It could be 27-7 Green Bay at the half, and the season could be hanging by a thread. So the Niners have got to be ready at the anthem. And whatever they do in practice this week, it's all got to be, they've got to find their offensive rhythm right away, and they got to halt Jordan Love's offensive rhythm right away. They got to do both those things in the first quarter of this game, and that right there is going to be a huge challenge. I'll make this prediction. I think this game is going to be the hardest game of the Niners' run to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
If they can get by Green Bay, they can get by the Detroit Lions, and they can beat the AFC team in Vegas. This is going to be their ultimate test. Can they slow down this red-hot Packers team that scored 48, but let's make no bones about it. They pulled Jordan Love. They easily could have scored 50 on Dallas. Dallas's defense is a fraud, but they still got, some players back there. It's not like it's just, statistically awful. And Green Bay scares the hell out of me, and I'll freely admit that.
Jordan Love, have you ever seen anything like that? He was terrible in the beginning of the season. Like, he was objectively terrible in the beginning of the season. And there were some guys, there's a lot of people before the season that said, "Oh, I really like Jordan Love." And then they had to backtrack. They're like, "Yep, he's terrible. He's bad. He's not good." The improvement that he's made this season is crazy. I have never seen anything like it personally. But yeah, I mean, yesterday he was playing like an all-pro. He's got
23 touchdowns and 1 pick in his last 9 games.
Exactly. He's playing out of this world right now. It doesn't even make sense compared to how he was playing in the beginning of the season. He did 2 things I thought really well yesterday. One, he took everything the Cowboys gave them. Yeah. The Cowboys made a number of terrible plays in their secondary, and every single time Jordan Love exposed them for that. There was a number of just, wide open Romeo Doubs down the field, and Love did not miss those. Another thing he did really well was just evading or accepting the pressure in the pocket and making throws like right before he got hit. He made a number of great throws under pressure. And it's a thing that you don't see from a rookie quarterback. And so, yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know if that's the team that's going to be the hardest for the Niners to get over, to get to the Super Bowl. But, it's not your typical 7 seed, at least from quarterback. And
he hunted big plays. I mean, that was the other thing. He really hunted big plays, kind of like Brock Purdy. 8 of Love's 16 completions went for at least 15 yards. And that's been his MO this entire second half of the year. He's not captain check down. He's attacking down the field. Now the Niners have a much better running game than Dallas. And I think if I'm the Niners, I play a little ball control and I try to dominate the time of possession. The Packers defense struggled in a lot of games during the second half of the year. Shanahan has had the upper hand on Joe Barry, their defensive coordinator, in the head-to-head matchups. They got to somehow shut down Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed. Those were his favorite targets all year. There's also a lot of height in their weapons. I mean, Dobbs is 6'2", Wicks is 6'1", Christian Watson 6'4", Musgrave 6'6". So when they get in the red zone, they'll throw it up to these guys. To me, Demo Lenore matching up in against slot fades and some of the deeper routes down the field is going to be one of the major keys in this matchup. All the pressure is on the Niners. He loves Jordan Love loves that fadeaway where he just keeps kind of moving away from the line of scrimmage and buying himself just a little extra time. He's got the 5th lowest sack rate overall and the 9th lowest sack rate when facing pressure. So, the Niners have the experience, and the Niner defensive front has got to be – Jordan Love has to feel the Niners defensive front. If you look at where Green Bay's defensive DVOA ranks this year, they're 26th against the pass and 26th against the run. So the Niners should be able to do what they want offensively. But the Packers have been a really good pass blocking team. They're number 2 in pass block win rate, and that's a big part of this thing. They block you. They give their quarterback time. They got a bunch of weapons. They're really good. They're really, really good. So I will say this, though. I think to some degree they're a third of a team. If you look at their season DVOA, they're 6th offensively, 27th defensively, and 31st on special teams. So, the other key, I think, for the Niners, and it's a major key, is you have to stop Aaron Jones. When Jones doesn't rush for 100 yards, the Packers are 3-5. So, he's rushed for 100 yards. They've won 4 games in a row. He's rushed for 100 yards in each one of those games. Yeah. So, and here come the Niners, D. They haven't given up a 100-yard rusher all season, and now they're getting Armstead back. So, to me, that first quarter is going to be absolutely essential. You got to take Love out of his rhythm. You got to establish your own offensive rhythm, despite the fact you haven't played a live game for 21 days. It's a monumental challenge, and Green Bay is going to come in and let it all hang out, and because they're loosey-goosey, they're playing. Nobody expected them to be here. They're playing with the house's money, while the Niners carry tremendous pressure into this game. But you got to remind them that, you know what, they're the freshmen, and you're the juniors and seniors. They're going through this for the first time. Every guy in your room has been through it before. So you got to play with better smarts, better poise, more urgency, and really take it to them on both sides of the ball. It's going to be a huge challenge, though. Absolutely huge challenge. People who are sitting there talking all this trash, just save it. Just save it. Don't talk trash. Respect Green Bay immensely because, Jones ran for 5.6 a carry, and he's no easy guy to tackle. And he had 3 touchdowns. He's playing great. So they're the one thing you can say about them, they're kind of a one running back team. But you got to make sure Jones is, that average per carry better be more like 3.5 yards a carry. If he's averaging 5.5 yards a carry, it's going to be a long day.
One other thing about this game, if you wanted to point where the Cowboys lost this game, you could say, oh, well, they couldn't stop Jordan Love. Dak Prescott is the reason they lost that game. Dak Prescott sucked. He flat out sucked. I've never seen a quarterback negatively affect his team so much as Dak Prescott did in that first quarter or that first half, really, because just the amount of bad throws, I can't even count on my hands how many bad throws Dak Prescott had. And the reason why I'm ranting about this is because Brock Purdy, the only reason he's on an all-pro team is because Dak Prescott was second-team all-pro. Dak Prescott proved himself yesterday. He sucked. I mean, just multiple interceptions that led to Green Bay getting the ball 20 yards from their own end zone. I mean, just terrible, ugly throws. Terrible, ugly throws. And it's just the national media narrative of, oh, Dak Prescott deserves an MVP because X, Y, and Z. And it's like, oh, all the 49ers fans are saying, hey, look, we remember Dak Prescott. He sucked. He threw 5 interceptions against the Niners. And the national media just wants to throw that, to the back of their mind and say, well, in the last few games, he's been really great. He's been really great. Dak Prescott does not show up in big games ever. I cannot think of a big game where Dak Prescott won the game for the Cowboys. The Cowboys have a Super Bowl caliber team, but they do not have a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. They don't.
No, I mean, they forced the ball to CeeDee Lamb. I mean, they threw 17 balls to CeeDee Lamb. He caught 9. That means there were 8 balls he didn't catch. Prescott, doesn't take care of the football. He's been better this year because he's throwing it shorter and he's running more. And he did carry 6 times for 45 yards in this game. He had an 18-yard run. But yeah, that pick 6 to Savage was absolutely a backbreaker. And then I'll say this about Dallas. Dallas's deal is they get a lead and then they make you one-dimensional because they score a bunch of points. Their defense, Mozzie Smith sucked all year. I mean, Mozzie Smith did nothing. They took him in the first round. Looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. Another bad pick by Jerry and his kid. Dallas is this team. Dallas can turn 28-3 into 42-3 better than anybody in football. But if they're a bully team, if you stand up to them and you can stay out of obvious passing situations, you don't let them do what they want to do. Their corners want to jump routes. Their edge rushers want to get home. They had 0 sacks on Love. They only had 3 hits on him all day. So, Micah Parsons, hey, Micah, you may want to give up the pod and just focus on your actual job. You had 2 tackles and no sacks and 1 hit on the quarterback all day. And you're commenting on the Niners on your podcast. Bro, just play ball. Just play ball because you're clearly, you can't multitask. You were a no-show. And all these edge rushers they got on this team. You think of all these guys that can rush the passer. It's amazing. DeMarcus Lawrence can rush the passer. No sacks. Parsons can rush the passer. No sacks. Osa, Dorrance Armstrong, Sam Williams, these guys can all rush the passer. No sacks. So Green Bay is the better coach team. McCarthy's going to be canned, and probably justifiably so. And I hate to say it, but if Steve Wilkes leaves the Niners, I think Dallas's defensive coordinator is probably coming here. If he doesn't get the Seattle job, I think Dan Quinn's probably going to be the replacement for Steve Wilkes with the Niners. But the Dallas's defense. Green Bay came in and scored 48 and crushed you, and easily could have scored 58. So
yeah.
it was just.
Hey, I'll give Jordan Love credit though for some of those pressures, because some of those like I said earlier, he was able to take pressures and turn them into big plays. And that is the one thing, if you're a 49ers fan, that you should fear about Jordan Love, is that the Niners do not do well. I'm not fear-mongering right now. I'm not saying that the Niners are going to lose, but I'm saying the one thing the Niners don't do well is dealing with mobile quarterbacks that can throw outside of the pocket, on the run, etc. Lamar Jackson did it to you on Christmas Day. Jordan Love can do it to you. Joe Burrow did it to you. Joe Burrow was able to extend plays and make throws, and your secondary, which was tired at the time, couldn't make the play. Now the Niners are rested. They should be able to, hang with the Packers, of course. But that's the one thing. You got to get pressure on Jordan Love, and you got to turn them into sacks. None of this Chase Young grabbing at the arms, missing sacks bullshit. It's like you gotta sell out for the sacks in this one.
You got to take away the run. You got to cover these receivers. I said it for the last month. I'll say it one more time. The Niners have 5 young DBs. If they're going to win the Super Bowl, they're going to have to play ball. They're not going to be able to get away with these 5 young DBs not doing anything. That means Demo, Ambry, Jair, Luter, Womack. These guys have all got to answer the bell, and they all got to play. So we'll see. It's gonna. I think this can be a hell of a really very difficult game. I like the Niners, but I don't feel I do not feel in any way, super confident about it. I feel like this is going to be a real tough game to win.
What about the Eagles and the Bucks? The Eagles fall off needs to be studied. It is incredible what has happened since the Niners game for the Eagles. The Eagles were 10-1, and now they are 11-7. They lost to the 9-8 Bucks 32-9.
Yeah.
What happened to the Eagles? What is going on? Their secondary, they can't make tackles anymore. I thought they had a good defense at one point. They were pretty good. I mean, actually, earlier in the year, the statistics weren't going their way, but still, it's like they traded at the deadline for a safety. They have the best offensive line in football. They can't do the tush push anymore. It doesn't work. Like, the offense is stagnant.
Wait,
What's going on?
Well, first of all, what we need to do is remember our good buddy. Let's not forget our good buddy here. Here we go. Here he is, everybody.
Take a loss. Instead, they cried. A real professional football team with real professional men take a loss. Instead, they cried about it. Oh, if our quarterback wasn't hurt, if you would have freaking blocked for him, he would have been hurt. You suck. You're not man enough to admit it. Now you're going to come back here, and you're going to get your ass kicked again, and we're going to show you how men play. Not like those little whiners from the West Coast who drink their little wine with their pinkies up and act like you're so superior. Guess what? This is Philly. You're going to lose. You suck.
Guess what? This is Philly, and you won one fucking game against the Giants after you made this stupid speech. Oh, my God. That was just such a – I had to dust off that one. How about the Eagles, though? I mean, seriously, they're 10-1. The Niners roll into their place, slap them around. They won one game the rest of the year. It was against the New York Giants. They got absolutely embarrassed tonight against the Buccaneers. I mean, one Hurts, I people last year who were mad at me when I was comparing Brock Purdy to Hurts. It's like, how's that comparison looking right now? I mean, who would take Jalen Hurts over Brock Purdy right now? Not too many people. He didn't play too good tonight. What happened to the Eagle run game? They averaged 2.8 a carry. What happened to their run defense? What happened to their pass defense? Tonight, it just looked like a 7-on-7 drill. Cade Otton, David Moore, Trey Palmer, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Payne Durham. These guys just made plays up and down the field. They weren't within a country mile of these receivers. I don't know if it's Sirianni. I don't know if it's Sean Desai, Matt Patricia, losing two of their coordinators, saying goodbye to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They sacked the quarterback 70 times this year, 70 times last year, 43 times this year. I mean, what can you say? I mean, maybe they're getting old. You saw Travis Kelce giving it to Jason Kelce in his, when he started making excuses, and he started going, hey, the excuse train is in town. And Jason Kelce had to cancel the podcast until the next day because he wanted to rip Travis's head off. I mean, the Eagles are in a bad way. There's tons of pressure. Is Sirianni going to get dumped? I would say no, but man, Jeffrey Lurie and his girlfriend sure looked absolutely despondent up in the booth tonight. It wouldn't shock me if they did pull the plug on Sirianni, which would be absolutely staggering since they were in the Super Bowl a year ago. But I don't know what's worse, their free fall offensively or their free fall defensively. But don't let anybody ever tell you that, losing your coordinators doesn't matter, because the Eagles are proof that it does matter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, dude, like I said, this has to be studied. They're 1-7 since playing the Niners. That's tanking for the fucking first pick of the NFL draft. That's not competing. They were the first seed in the NFC, and they hobbled their way into the playoffs, and they play arguably the worst team in the NFC that made the playoffs, the 9-8 Bucks, and they got destroyed.
Right.
Destroyed.
Absolutely.
And
destroyed.
the Bucks are just the Bucks didn't even Mike Evans didn't even do anything. Cade Otton just threw up 89 yards on you. What are you doing,
and who's in this defense? I mean, Nicholas Morrow, Zach Cunningham, Avante Maddox, big play Slay got big play carted off the field. Brandon Graham's old. Fletcher Cox is old. James Bradbury got benched. What happened to Bradbury? Bradbury was like this awesome corner that was picking off passes. Jordan Davis is fat and out of shape. Bradley Roby's old. Nolan Smith is pretty much barely played this year. I mean, it's amazing, man. They were cruising. They were on top. The Niners knocked them off their perch, and like they have not been the same since that game. I mean, in some ways, their season is the most enjoyable because they were riding high, and the Niners came to town, and the bottom fell out, and it's just a beautiful thing. Yeah, seriously, they just got absolutely staggered with a right, and they have not been able to get up the rest of the season. I mean, it's been awesome to watch.
It's unbelievable too, because just going after the draft, you look at the Eagles team, and that was one of the main takeaways from the draft for me. It was wow, the Eagles, even though they lost Javon Hargrave, they lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
They drafted Jalen Carter, though.
Yeah, they drafted Jalen Carter. They got Jordan Davis. They got Keely Ringo. They were building a super team. I'm like, wow, those are
traded for Kevin Byard.
Yeah, it's like they were building a super team on that defensive line, and the secondary. You thought the secondary was still going to be able to hold up. I'll say this, going into the Niners game. Obviously, everyone respected the Eagles. They were 10-1, and they were top of the NFC, best team in the NFL. But there were indications at the time. There were indications that they were playing a lot of long games, that their defense metrics weren't really up to, high standards. They were like 20th or 22nd in their pass defense. There were indications that the Niners could, destroy them. Or not destroy them, but beat them. But no one would have predicted this ever. No one ever. Even if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're never saying, "Oh, I think the Eagles they're bad. Like they're going to go 1-7." Like what? How do you? And you looked at their you've seen their schedule. They lost to some terrible team. They lost to the Cardinals. They lost to the Giants. It's like it's bad. If you're an Eagles fan, it's bad.
Eagles die. You know what? And it couldn't have happened to a scummier fan base. Those people are seriously the lowest of low.
And their players, their players talk the most trash. I think their players talk the most trash.
And their fans are a joke. I mean, what was the score of the Niner game at halftime? It was like 14-6 or something, wasn't it? And their fans booed them off the field. What kind of fans boo a team down 14-6 at home? I mean, going into the locker room. So it's gonna be a long winter in Philly. The Phillies will not be in Florida training for a few more months, or for a few more weeks, I should say. And they got another month of misery there. I'd love to hear what Sports Talk Radio has sounded like and will sound like there for the next 2-3 weeks. I mean, just absolutely the lowest of low. Just everybody miserable, kicking snow, walking around a city that's infested with rats and just sitting there and just sucking it up, watching the Niners hopefully in the bowl.
Yeah. Unbelievable. It's honestly, yeah. It's like a Super Bowl hangover from a Super Bowl they didn't win,
Right.
It's like they already made it and they're checked out or something. They're just that team is checked out. Their secondary tackling is horrendous.
I would love to see Sirianni get just taken out. That would be fantastic. That would just be awesome. As smug as he was with his, wait a second. Let me share the screen on one more here because this one is just absolutely, this is the most loathsome moment of the year for Sirianni and his crew. All right, we'll share the screen. We'll get out of this idiot, and we'll go to this idiot. We'll go from one idiot to another idiot here. Here is Sirianni. Sirianni's Eagles circled the drain pretty much after this moment.
There's Big Dom on the right.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is he even? Can someone? No one's given me a firm answer on this. What does Sirianni do?
He hangs out with Big Dom and eats salami sandwiches. I don't know. I mean, seriously, what does he do? You're not. He has as much. You know, I mean, he reminds me of Bobby Bowden. He's not the O coordinator. He wasn't the D coordinator. He's just a guy talking trash.
Yeah, it's like every game I watch, it's like Joe Buck's always like, Kyle Shanahan, one of the best play callers in the NFL. And then you get to Sirianni, it's like, and there's Nick Sirianni, great coach. It's like, for what? Like, explain to me. Like, tell me what he's so good at.
Not only
That's why
that,
they're going to fire him. That's why they're firing him.
How about these people that were saying that Sirianni was way better? Remember the coach rankings earlier this year? That Sirianni was a much better coach than Shanahan. I think even our buddy Chase Sr., who I really enjoy, but I think Chase Sr. ranked Sirianni over Shanahan.
I do remember a coach list that Kyle was like 7 on or something, like 6 on.
I mean, seriously. Come on. See ya, Nick. See you down at the deli with Big Dom tomorrow. You'll have plenty of time to talk about his boiler as you guys are watching the rest of the playoffs at home.
The sky is falling in Philly. I'm looking and I'm seeing people talk about Jalen Hurts isn't the guy anymore. I mean,
that's awesome.
That's incredible. They're
questioning their existence on the planet right now. What are we even doing here?
Not the guy. I mean, dude, what happened? I thought going into the Super Bowl, he was like the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I mean, like now he's I don't know if he's a winner anymore. Like, I don't know if he could take us there. It's like, geez, man. Jeez, that's tough, man.
Yeah. From the penthouse to the outhouse in the blink of an eye. Couldn't have happened to a nicer group of fans.
Jeez.
All right.
Last game of the day. Not super important, but the Bills, the very hot Bills, who have won how many in a row now? Is it
6, I think? Or they were 6-6 and they haven't lost since that point. I'm not sure exactly
12,
where they're.
Yeah, so 6 in a row. Yeah,
6 in a row. I mean, Josh Allen, 3 touchdowns today. He had 74 yards rushing. He had averaged 9.3 a carry. He threw for 3 touchdowns. He ran for another. He's got 2 really good tight ends, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox. He's got a true number 1 in Stephon Diggs. Khalil Shakir, the Boise State kid, is coming of age right before our eyes. He's been awesome the last month. But they also lost some dudes in this game. Terrell Bernard went out with an injury. I think he's probably done for the year. I saw it was Teron Johnson went out with an injury, and I think he came back in. Or was it Dane Jackson? Maybe I forget who. I think Teron Johnson went out with the injury, and I don't know if he came back in. But they lost 2 or 3 guys today. There was one other that went down. I can't remember who it was. But, yeah, I mean, Buffalo against Kansas City next week for all the marbles. And, Buffalo, I don't know. I mean, but I'll say this. Buffalo's playoff tested. They've been in, like, literally playoff mode for a month and a half. So I fear them in the Super Bowl. But I kind of think they're going to get beat. I don't think Buffalo's going to the Super Bowl after watching them today. I think either Houston or Baltimore or Kansas City, I think, have a better chance than Buffalo, even despite the fact that Josh Allen is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers came out in that game and just it looked so ugly. There was at least 4 or 5 plays that were almost picked. 3 of them ended up being picked. Mason Rudolph is obviously, not a star quarterback, but that was kind of the thing. Like you said, Buffalo at a point in this game it got close. It got close in this game with Mason Rudolph and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have just the most stagnant offense of all time.
No TJ Watt. I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick played well, man. He had 10 tackles, 5 solo. He had a tackle for a loss. He was flying around. He's been hurt. Cam Hayward played really, really well. Steelers still, their defense, still came to play. But at some point, Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season. It's a great organization. And I'm not saying Tomlin should be fired, but they got to find who their guy is, because it's not Mason Rudolph. It's not Kenny Pickett. They need more speed at running back. They Their defense is big time, but they're, they need more help offensively. I don't think the quarterback who's going to win the next Super Bowl for the Steelers is on the roster right now.
That's not a crazy take at all. The one thing I will say about the Bills, I still feel like any team led by Josh Allen has a chance to do damage. Even though I just said, like they didn't look as dominant against the Steelers, I still, I think you guys said earlier, appropriate fear. I would have appropriate fear for the Buffalo Bills. And the reason why I say that is, in baseball, how in the playoffs, like the home run hitters somehow become more valuable because it's like in baseball, every run is like scrutinized. And if you can hit a home run, it's like a huge deal, right? It's like, I kind of feel that way about postseason football. The Bills can just, they can make an explosive play at any moment. Josh Allen can throw a 60-yard bomb or just run. You saw it against the Steelers today, have a 50-yard run at any given moment. So they can score on a dime if they need to. And if they get the ball back down 5 with 1:40 left in the game, they can win that game. So I still like the Bills. I don't know how they face up.
Do you think Kansas City? I think Kansas City's probably going to get them.
It's a rematch of the infamous AFC game, right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe not. Maybe Kansas City. Maybe Bills are there in the conference final. But even if they are, I'll take the winner of Houston-Baltimore. I think after watching Houston, there's no doubt in my mind.
Why don't we
Houston can be in Vegas for the Super Bowl. There's no question in my mind. No question.
Let me pull up the playoff picture and let's just quickly go through the matchups and then let's take the calls and bolt for the door.
Okay.
Let me pull it up. I got to find it somewhere on Twitter.
Somebody said, did you see Nick Wright's Purdy tweet?
Is that today?
Yeah, I didn't see it. The only one I see, he mentions something about quarterbacks and then just kind of throws Purdy in at the end.
Let me see if I can find it.
If you find a Purdy tweet.
Why don't we start? Well, do you want to start? Let's break down the what's your opinion on Houston Ravens?
Baltimore?
Yeah.
Houston's real. I mean, I like Houston. I mean, to be completely honest, I know Baltimore is really good defensively, but Lamar has not won in the playoffs. I hate their weapons. I love the Texans' weapons. I'll take the Texans. Now, it's all going to be about how does Houston settle into that game. That's a really tough place to play. They could be down 10-0 at the blink of an eye. If they score first or take any kind of lead, Houston wins that game. The only way Houston doesn't win that game is if they get ambushed in the first quarter and they're down 10-0 or 14-3 or something like that. That's a really, really tough place to play for a road team. Lamar's playing at a really high level. But guess what? Barnett and Greenard and all those defensive ends they have are freaking awesome. And they've got good talent on the back end. And I really think the Texans, Cesario has put together a squad there. And I love the way Stroud's playing. He's so young. He doesn't realize what he's doing. He kind of scares me, kind of like Jordan Love, to be honest. I think Stroud and the Texans can win that game in Baltimore. But it's all about how they settle in. If they dig themselves a massive hole, then it's going to be an uphill battle, but I still give them a shot. But if Houston gets a first quarter lead, they're going to win the game.
The Baltimore Ravens are 8.5-point favorites currently. I feel like, I don't know yet, but I feel like a lot of people will start taking, or the sharps, as they say, will be on Houston plus the points. It seems like a good spot, especially with Lamar in the playoffs being like 1-3 or something like that. Right before we go to the next,
what are you, Justice Hill and Gus Edwards and it's Zay Flowers and nothing else? No way. I mean, I'll take the Texans and their weapons and their defensive ends and all the momentum that they have. I mean, they're loose. D'Amico's got them playing well on both sides of the ball. They're going to be able to put up some points. So the Ravens have to get a lead in that game, and even then, Unless the Texans get Stroud knocked out, I love the Texans to win that game.
This was the Nick Wright tweet that was brought up earlier. What if final 8 quarterbacks we're going to have? 2 first-year starters coming off perfect playoff games. So that would be Love and Stroud. 2
Right.
number 1 picks discarded by their original teams. That would be Goff and who am I missing? Baker, right. 2 MVP caliber unicorns with their best chance to make a Super Bowl.
Josh and Mahomes.
Okay, or it was at Lamar.
Oh yeah.
What? Oh, yeah. This is the next one. The next one is Mahomes. 1 GOAT contender going for a back-to-back, and Brock Purdy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you know what? Nick Wright. We'll see. But if the Niners can get the win against Green Bay, I feel great about Purdy standing at the end. I think Green Bay is going to be the toughest game they got left. I really do.
Nick Wright. I mean, come on,
Nick
man.
Wright.
I mean, come on. I get it.
Nick Wright is wrong more than he's right, and that's the truth.
I get that he has to be like very strong-minded to be, because you give a million opinions. You can't just be like, Brock Purdy, he's okay. Like he can't have that opinion.
You got to be polarizing, Pete.
No, I'm not saying that he doesn't believe this take, but it's like, dude, admit when you're wrong. When you're wrong, and
take the L, buddy.
I like Colin Cowherd. Some people hate Colin Cowherd. I personally like him. I think he's entertaining. I respect him for that. But he has like Colin right, Colin wrong. He admits when he's wrong. Nick Wright, it's like, dude, you've been saying that like Brock Purdy was Nick Mullins. Now you're trying to say, oh, well, he doesn't really compare to Mahomes. It's like, okay, bro, move the goalposts a little bit farther, won't you?
Yeah, bro, take the L and move on. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
All right. What else we got?
Next matchup. What is the next matchup? Let's go Bucks Lions. What's your thoughts on that?
Lions. I mean, the Lions are a better team than Tampa or Philly. I mean, the Bucks are not bad. But the Lions are it's their magic carpet ride. Amon-Ra's a true number 1 receiver. Montgomery and Gibbs is a great combo at running back. Sam Laporta is Superman. He looked like he was totally done, and then he played great this week. The Lions have a terrific defense or offensive line. I like the Lions. I mean, Jared Goff's playing well. Heck, they didn't even look good as far as the stat sheet in this game against the Rams. The Rams outdid them in almost every phase, and yet the Lions still win. So the Lions are really, really good. They're 6-2 at home. The place will be rocking. Bucks off the short week. Give me Detroit. I'll take Detroit minus the 6.
That's an easy one. I don't disagree with you there. Like I said earlier, the Bucks, I think, are the worst team in the NFC in the playoffs. They looked great tonight, but the Eagles, there's a disease being infested with the Eagles right now, and I'm not sure what's going on over there. What are your thoughts on Chiefs Bills?
I mean, the Chiefs found their one good receiver, and his name's Rashee Rice. And Mahomes is going to play big because Mahomes is Mahomes. And the Chiefs have been in bigger games than this, so they're not going to be intimidated at all. And the cold weather is not going to bother them, and it may even seem like balmy compared to what they endured this week. And their top tier guys are big time. Mahomes, obviously Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, Isaiah Pacheco. Their interior offensive line is premier. If Von Miller were in this game and healthy, I'd be a little bit more concerned. On paper, Josh Allen's probably going to win one of these games against Mahomes. It's probably here. But I think that's a coin flip game, man. That thing could go either way. I'll take the Chiefs and Mahomes over Josh Allen and the Bills until I see otherwise.
Yeah,
I love the way Karlaftis is playing, the Purdue kid, Nick Bolton, Willie Gay. They've got a lot of speed on defense. Kansas City's combination of defense and the weapons I've named and the interior 3 is enough to beat this Buffalo team coming off the injuries that they're going to have. Unless Josh Allen just puts everything on his back and makes it happen. I'm taking the Chiefs.
There is like an insane Patrick Mahomes stat. I can't find it right now, but Patrick Mahomes as an underdog, because I think the line opened up. I can look at it right now, but the line.
It's his first road game as in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's going, and that's why I actually right now initial lean. I haven't really done a lot of research in the game. Initial lean is Bills for me. I just think at home, slight edge, maybe the magic juice will run out for the Chiefs. They're 2.5-point underdogs. The Chiefs are. So, it's gonna be a close game.
I'll take two. I like the Chiefs and the Texans to win on the road. I like the Niners and the Lions to win at home. But I don't feel great about the Niner game. I feel nervous about the Niner game, to be honest, because the way Green Bay looks.
Yeah, I think the Niners are 10-point favorites against Green Bay. Sets up to be a great game. It's going to be prime time Saturday, 5:00 at Levi's. You'll be there, and we'll be talking about it all week long. Do you want to get to some calls before we bowl for the door?
Let's do this. We'll do our calls, but let me hit the supers and then we'll bowl.
Right.
And then we'll hit the calls. Okay, so I'm Old Greg says, "Cry Eagles, cry." What a weekend, Larry. Make sure you give Chase some crap for his Eagles chat sports. You're lazy, Larry. Love you. Appreciate it. I'm Old Greg. Chase Limperia. What up, fellas? Soon I will call in for my job. Shout out to Alan from Coles. LOL. So who's better in the trenches? And screw Brother Bob. What's Brother Bob saying? As far as who's better in the trenches, I think the Niners are better. I think the Niners D-line's better than the Packer O-line, but we're going to find out. And I think the Niner O-line can stand up to this Packer D-line. So we'll see. I think the Niners with the rest, the home field, Shanahan, as long as they can get the lead, that's my big concern. Like if I'm Shanahan, I think I might take the ball. I don't think I would allow Green Bay to take the ball and go wire to wire like they did against the Cowboys. Make them play from behind. I think that might be the way to go, but I don't think he'll do it. I think he'll defer to the second half. That's the way he always does it. Joe E says, Krug, props on those dead on wild card game predictions. I thought the Rams and Puka would get the Lions. What San Francisco players do you see having an advantage this weekend? That is a great question. What Niner players do I think have an advantage this weekend? Well, I got to know about Jair Alexander. I think the Niner receivers, I think the Niners overall, if they keep the ball on the ground, are just more physical running team. I think they should be able to run it on Green Bay, especially if they use Debo on some end arounds and they have a real diverse rushing attack that attacks from all over. I think the Niner trio of superior weapons, Ayuk, Debo, and CMC, carry the day. And, but this is going to be a challenge because Brock Purdy hasn't played in 21 days, may have some rust, and this Jordan Love kid is absolutely rolling in full rhythm. So it's going to be, the first quarter is going to be essential. But I like the Niners. I also think that Armstead could really party inside against the Green Bay interior. Let's see what else. Is that it? Oh, we got this one from Tobin Ernst. Will our D show up? Stop the run, rush the passer. They're gonna have to. Got to make Green Bay one-dimensional. And then Half Dead says, Larry, just in case you were wondering, blankety blank still trying to minimize what Purdy has done. It says Lance is the next Jordan Love. All right. Well, what can I say? I'm Old Greg says Debo predicted it. He told all of us. Nice. And 69ers says, did you see Nick Wright's Purdy tweet? He's a clown. We did. Thank you. Ready, set, rush. Can't call in tonight, but I agree. Texans will upset. Larry, you were right about Green Bay. Great stuff as always, fellas. Kevin's doppelganger. There you go. That's
Thanks,
Cam out in Tucson. And Adam Paul says, Big Dom and Nick Sirianni is in downtown Philly, choking on some salami sandwiches together, watching the playoffs. See ya. You cracked me up, Larry. Thank you. Green glass full. All underdog wins so far for the Niners. Be over dogs. What does that mean?
All underdog wins so far. Time for I don't know. Wait. All underdog wins so far. Time for 49ers be overdogs.
Or favorites, I think maybe is another way of saying overdogs.
Yeah.
All right, Kev. Who do we go to?
Artur. Oh,
wait, I'll do it. There he is. Artur, how are you, man?
Hey guys, how's it going? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you. What's on your mind, man?
Awesome.
Hey, thanks for being in the chat. This is the first time we've had you on the video call.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm always in the chat. I've been watching your videos a while. I love the show you do, especially with Kevin. You guys are great together, man.
Let's go.
Are you SF Fire Department?
Yeah. I just got off of work. I work in the Bayview station at 49. So
Respect.
There you go, man. My first house as a kid when we were growing up was on Visitation.
Yeah,
right there in Visitation Valley.
Yeah, we get a lot of calls out of I I'm very.
Well, I appreciate what you do, man. Thanks for doing what you do.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate what you guys do as well. You know, it's crazy, Larry. I think I heard you saying that you grew up in the Sunset on 35th and Rivera, and what's funny is I actually live on 35th and Rivera, the corner house, and I wonder if it's the same house. If my parents ended up buying your childhood home, did you guys? Did you live right on the corner of 35th and Rivera, or where were you exactly?
No, we 2535 was which is the second house, the biggest house right there. The one that doesn't look like a Sunset house. It almost looks like like maybe flats or an apartment. It's
I think I know. It's in the middle of the block.
It's in the middle of the block on the south side. It's the second house from the corner, and I lived there from 1972 until my parents passed during the pandemic.
Oh, wow. Okay. So kind of recently.
Yeah, we sold it. We sold it at that point.
Wow. Yeah. Cool. That's crazy, man. Because I live 5 houses down from where you guys.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Lincoln for a little bit, and then I ran into some trouble there in my younger years, and my parents ended up putting me into a private school. As parents do with troubled kids, but I was glad they did that, man. Because
what was your private school?
With how familiar you are with SF, I wouldn't be surprised if you know it. You know that church on, I want to say 25th and Geary. It's the Russian church with the big golden domes.
Yeah, right by St. Monica's.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a school associated with that church not many people know about, called St. John's Academy, and very small school. And my graduating class, I think, had 5 other students. And it's crazy because I went to Francis Scott Key Elementary. I went to AP Giannini Middle School.
Right.
And I went to Lincoln for a year, and I'm used to this public school life. And then I had to wear a suit and a tie and go to a private school with 5 other students, no girls, pretty much. I think like 1 or 2 girls in my entire high school class. So it was tough.
That's my it's one of my favorite parts of the city, though. We used to hit Trader Sam's, which is 1 block from there.
Right. Yeah. It's a really nice part of the city. I love it. But I'm a Sunset boy, man. I grew up in the Sunset. I'm 33. I've lived there for, I'd say, 25 years.
Nice.
Now, so mostly in that house on Rivera. So yeah, man, it's great to call in. I don't want to take up too much of your time. You probably have other callers, but a couple of things, man. I think, first of all, brilliant insight in your part calling Green Bay, man. People were calling you crazy. They thought Green Bay wouldn't make it out of Dallas. You called it. You hit the head there, man. And very impressed with just how you see things, man. With Purdy and Green Bay, just seeing things, putting yourself out out there with what people would call wild takes that end up being, and that's why I trust your football knowledge, Larry. So really, really cool there. And after that Dallas game, man, I'm a little bit nervous about Green Bay, but I will say one thing. I was listening to Guy Haberman earlier today, and he was talking about how tight ends have an 85% completion percentage against the Green Bay's linebackers. The linebacking core isn't very good, and Shanahan loves to go after the linebackers. I think Kittle is set up to have a pretty big game against Green Bay. What do you think?
No, that's a great call, and Guy's fantastic. We stream together now every Wednesday at 9 a.m., so check that out if you can, but whether live or taped. But yeah, no, Guy's run on the money, and Kittle, I think, is absolutely going to be a huge part of this thing. I also think that the 49ers can run the ball by using Debo and giving Green Bay a lot of different run looks. I think the Niners can run the ball on Green Bay. Joe Barry, their defense is peaking right now, but there's holes there. There's holes there, and you got to be patient, and you got to be able to put a little pressure on them. You got to get Quay Walker blocked because he's really, really good. But I think, like you mentioned, the linebackers, Devondre Campbell, I think can be picked on in space, and I imagine Kyle will make him the conflict defender. The thing that's scary about Green Bay is that they've got a bunch of D-line depth, and a lot of those guys are first-round picks, and they're playing at a pretty high level. So you got to stay ahead of the chains. Nothing crazy new. Turnovers, I think, are going to be a big part of it. The Niners have to start fast. The Niners have trailed in 3 games this year. At halftime, they lost all 3. So, I mean, Dallas just found out what it looks like to have to come back against this Green Bay team. If they can, Aaron Jones, and stopping Aaron Jones is the key. If they can stop Aaron Jones as both a runner and as a receiver, I think that will put more pressure on Jordan Love. And then they got to give Jordan Love some different looks because, he's locked in right now.
Man, he played amazing, Larry.
He's amazing right now.
Insane the throws he was making off his back foot, off of the platform. Pretty mobile in the pocket too. You wouldn't think of him as a runner. I don't think he's going to run downfield on you, but his little nuances of maneuvering in the pocket, throwing off his back foot, he looked good, man.
And you also got to go. You got to, like some teams, you say, okay, CeeDee Lamb's their number one. You got to take him away. You got to go into the meeting. Steve Wilkes has got to be like, hey guys, I got some good news and bad news. The good news is they don't have CeeDee Lamb. The bad news is that Dobbs, Musgrave, Wicks, Kraft, Jones, Watson, Melton, and Reed can all be their number one guy on any given play. So you just got to. The Niners are gonna. The depth of their secondary and the ability to cover is going to be severely tested in this game.
We know if Ambry Thomas is going to play.
I think he is. Is
he going to wear a club?
I don't know if he's even going to need that. We'll see. He had the surgery. He may have to wear a club. He did already play 1 game with it and played pretty effectively, but all the young DBs are going to have to play, and they're going to have to be absolutely sound in what they do. And the other thing about LaFleur is, he's got guys that have size and speed now, but he also is really good at designing plays, these chunk yardage plays that get guys freed up. And Niners are going to be challenged. They're gonna make some plays. They're gonna score some points. So it's really key that the Niners, I think, play ball control, complementary football, run the ball, and dominate the time of possession. If Green Bay dominates the time of possession on the Niners, Green Bay will win the game.
What scares you the most about Green Bay? What do you think? What do you see as their clear advantage against us?
The 2 tight ends. They got Musgrave, who's 6'6", and Kraft, who's a tremendous player, and they're both healthy and playing well. And so when they go to a 2 tight end look, they've got 2 big, talented receivers, and they have great ball skills, both of them. Musgrave's 6'6", is really fast. Kraft is a little bit less of an athlete, but and not Kraft's 6'5", 260. I mean. They're both. Tucker Kraft at South Dakota State was an amazing player, and Musgrave had a really good career at Oregon State. Those 2 tight ends scare me the most, especially in the red zone, especially if Love can throw it up high to them. And I'll tell you the other thing that really scares me about Green Bay is that they're so freaking young that they're impervious to the pressure of the moment.
They don't know better. They don't know better.
They're just playing. And they're not worried about it. And the Niners, have been there on the doorstep, and they're feeling a little bit of the pressure, the first round bye, the expectations. And you got to play to win. You can't play not to lose. I'm a little concerned about the situation where Green Bay's loose and playing well, and the Niners could be a little rusty and a little tight.
Yeah, for Green Bay, it's been a successful season already. If they lose, it's been a great, successful season. So I can imagine that they're playing free without a care in the world. They're gonna, go out there, try to have some fun. My thing is, Larry and Kevin, is I'm worried about our O line, man. Outside of Trent Aaron Banks, really worried about that right side. And every time Purdy has thrown a lot of picks and didn't look great, it's been, I feel like, that constant pressure from the interior right in his face as soon as he snaps the ball. I think Purdy's amazing under pressure. I think he's just amazing overall. But when he's constantly getting pressured in the middle, it's tough. I mean, Mahomes in 2019 lost to the Buccaneers. So even the greatest quarterbacks in the world, man, when they're getting constantly pressured, it speeds them up. It throws off their game. And so I'm just kind of a little bit worried about the trenches. I don't know how great Packers D-line is. You said they have a bunch of first-round picks, but they might be a year or two away from truly kind of coming of age. More worried about the Ravens
Wyatt.
in that regard.
I mean, it's Devontae Wyatt and Kenny Clark are the guys inside that you really – and they're both first-round picks. Clark's the veteran. Wyatt's more a younger guy. And then Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith off the edges. So it's going to be, they're going to have to get the ball out fast. Brock's going to have to really see the field. He's going to have to, more than anything, I just hope that he has a great week of practice so that he can hit the ground running. If you ask me what was the Niners' best game this year, I thought it was coming out of the bye week in Jacksonville against a Jaguar team that had won 5 in a row and didn't trail in any of those 5 games. And they halted Jacksonville's momentum early in that game and kind of reminded them that it was going to be a new day. And they need to do the exact same thing in this game with Green Bay. And it's going to be even harder to do because, Lawrence's ego he's a little bit more fragile. Love is a little bit more rock solid. It's year 3. It's his first full year starting, but he's a little harder to take out of his rhythm. But that taking him out of his rhythm and making him go to his second read, and maybe taking some chances with the football. That's what the Niners really need to do. They're gonna the coverage units are gonna have to cover. I mean, if he drops back all day and he's just finding guys, it's gonna be a long day.
Larry, I think the rest was huge, man. We have a veteran team, and one thing that people don't really talk a lot about is how much our team had to travel this year. And we've got a lot of older veterans, man. So coming off of a bye, how great they looked in the beginning of the year and how great they look coming off of Jacksonville. It's no surprise to me, man, because of how veteran the team is and how much of a disadvantage they had playing against teams coming off of their byes. Even in the team, against Jacksonville, they had a bye. We were coming off a bye, but they had a bye. We really had a rest disadvantage this year. NFL kind of did the Niners dirty, man. And you could see it. You could see it with their missed tackles as the games kind of progressed. By the 6th game of the season against the Browns, it really showed itself. And then after the bye, great stretch for 3-4 games, started kind of showing itself again. So we have a veteran team. I think they're going to be prepared. Purdy, I know, is going to be prepared. I mean, that kid, very well prepared kid. So I have no worries about him. Last question. I know I've been going a long time here, but it's so great talking to you guys. But last question: what makes you confident the Texans are going to take out the Ravens, man?
Their defensive ends. I think if you look at the Texans on the back end, I don't like the weapons that the Ravens have offensively. I think the Texans are going to be able to throttle the Ravens, down the field. Derek Stingley, Steven Nelson, Jalen Petrie, Desmond King. Those are the guys that I think they're gonna win the day on the perimeter. And then Will Anderson, Greenard, Barnett, those guys up front, I think are going to get home on the quarterback. I like the Texans defense to keep it. I like the under, if you ask me, because I think I think the Texans are going to have a hard time scoring on that Ravens D, and I think the Ravens are going to have a hard time scoring on this Texans D the way they're playing. And I like the under, and I think I'll take Stroud over Lamar. right now. The way he's playing, I think he's
Are you
playing
counting
as
on
good.
playoff Lamar to come rear his ugly head? Playoff Lamar.
Yeah, I just think that if you can, if you really have the horses to play coverage, and they do. I mean, Stingley's a stud. And Stingley's a great corner, and Nelson's a veteran who's been there before. King was incredible this week, and Petrie's a really solid, strong safety. So I like their secondary quite a bit. I think their secondary will win, and then Christian Harris is absolutely playing crazy great. But the real reason I love Houston is Stroud and those defensive ends. Their defensive ends are not going to be denied. Their defensive ends could win them the Super Bowl. I mean, Greenard, Anderson, Barnett are absolutely going to win against almost every offensive tackle combo, including what the Ravens have. So I like Houston.
Crazy how fast they've come along.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And that's been the theme. If there's one theme, it's that the youth, we think of, Josh Allen and Mahomes as young. Really, it's Purdy and Stroud that are young, and it's Green Bay that's young. And it's, the youth of the Texans, I think, is real. So I was shocked at how many guys who were 23 played great this weekend.
Yeah.
Archer, let us jump, man, but we appreciate you. Thanks for jumping in, man. We'll hopefully do it again.
Absolutely. We'll take care, guys. Have a great night.
You too. There you go. Let's do 2 quick calls, and then we'll bolt for the door. I know Kev's got to get back to study, and we go to Jay. What's up, Jay?
Hey, what's up, man?
I got the beard tonight. Got the beard.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Jay. What's on your mind, man?
What's up? Just watching the Eagles blow their whole freaking season away. That was pretty hilarious.
The Eagles were bad, man. It was amazing. It was like 2 teams this year.
Yeah, I feel bad for the Buccaneers too because they're gonna get smashed by Detroit. Because playing against the Eagles is like playing against nobody
at this point.
I agree.
Yeah. But I don't get your whole Green Bay thing. We're gonna smash them next week.
I hope you're right. They were.
No, I mean 100% because there's a specific reason. Like Shanahan don't lose to teams that come from his coaching tree because all he has to do is basically say well, what do I don't like, and he just does that, and we always beat him. That's why he just doesn't lose. That's why he beats Mike McDaniels. That's why he beats LaFleur. It's because all he does is all the stuff that he hates and just does it to them, and they fold.
I agree. I do agree.
Plus the Packers defense is trash. Don't let the Cowboys fool you. The Packers defense gave Bryce Young 30 points. Yeah. Okay, people forget that. And also people forget that they played the Vikings with Nick Mullins. They played the Panthers. They've been playing some scrub teams, and the Cowboys just fell on their face because they're the Cowboys. I don't believe this Jordan Love. I mean, they're a young team, but the thing about young teams, because you're saying they come in, they have all this confidence. Well, also they're coming into a boss fight because the 49ers are the boss fight in NFC. And when those young teams, if you smack them in the face, they realize what's going on and they fall. That's what happens. That's what happens to Jaguars. Those young teams, and they're good until they get smacked, and then they can't get back up because they don't like you said, they don't understand the gravity of what's going on. But then they face a team that does, and it's serious. And I just don't think a team like the Packers could beat the 49ers. I feel like I can see them getting some shots in, but I just cannot see it. The team I'm worried about Tampa Bay, actually.
One thing I'll add to Jay's point there, Dad.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott did give them the game in the beginning of that game. He just gave them the ball for them to lock it in. So not that Jordan Love doesn't deserve praise. Yeah. I do think he's good, and I'm not saying that the Niners will lose. Definitely not that.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott did give the Packers pretty much just the key.
Yeah, and then the Packers, they don't have a real running. They can't run the ball with Tony Pollard, it seems like. And people act like the Cowboys are very similar to the Eagles, where it's their front 7 is good, but then when you get to the secondary, it's old Stephen Gilmore. Deshaun Bland gets a bunch of interceptions, but he doesn't really do anything besides interceptions. I don't think the Cowboys are a good barometer for the 49ers. And the problem is I think the Packers are going to come into this game riding high, and then they're going to get smacked. I just cannot see a world where the Packers beat the 49ers.
I hear you, and you make a lot of good points, Jay. The Big 25 says rain in the forecast all weekend, especially Saturday. So, that there's a randomness to that too.
Yeah.
Who keeps their feet, who slips down. But I feel like the first quarter is going to give us a real good indication on this game.
Mm-hmm.
I usually bet games before the game and not after they start, but that might be the game to bet 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
Because if the Niners can get off to a lead and get the game off to the right start and settle in, I think they'll win. But I'm worried a little bit about Green Bay jumping to a lead and getting into this run the ball, super conservative. Love.
Yeah, I think they need to. I think they need to come out swinging
it around to 7 different receivers. All this all these little short, getting. It's like 1,001 paper cuts.
Yeah, the team that scares me that's left is Tampa Bay, and I know that sounds crazy, but that's like, see, the one weakness that I would say the 49ers have more than the mobile quarterback is that dominating receivers, like actual elite receivers, hurt us, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I feel like, have the only like elite receiver left. They have Mike Evans, and if you actually, I don't know if you were watching this game, but like the Tampa Bay should have destroyed the Eagles even more if Mike Evans just caught 2 passes.
I know,
like
he dropped that.
Like
one
Mike Evans was
field.
torching them, and Baker Mayfield was missing him. It was crazy.
They got 2 number 1 receivers too. Godwin's a great number 1 as well.
And Otton's good. Like Rashad, and also I think Todd Bowles. Like Todd Bowles is a really good defensive coordinator, and he brings pressure. That's why I'm not. I think Detroit will win, but I think that game's gonna be really close because I don't think Jared Goff's good under pressure. Like once the Rams start turning on the pressure, that's when that game started to go into like the Rams' favor. And all Todd Bowles does is pressure. That's his whole thing.
No, I hear you. I like the Lions in that game just because they feel like a team of destiny. I think somebody's going to beat them. I'm not sure if it will be Tampa, but I think they just look awfully good at home. Jay, let me jump because we got 2 more we got to get to, and we got to get Kevin back to his studying.
Okay, man. Have a good night.
Jay.
Appreciate you, Jay. Fozzie's in the house. What's up, Fozzie?
What's up, Kevin's dad? What's up, Kev?
How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. It's always
Fozzie, where are you calling from?
I'm in Hercules, California.
The home of Willie McGee. What's on your mind?
You told me that last time.
Yeah, I think I remember talking to you, Fozzie. I think
yeah. And then my Wi-Fi crashed, and then I had to jet.
Yeah.
But I won't take too much of Kevin's dad's time here. I know Kevin got to go study, but just wanted to call in and say I know we probably shouldn't underestimate these guys in the Green Bay Packers, but I think we got it. I mean, I know rain in the forecast or whatever, but I think Kyle Shanahan will be prepared and he'll have his guys ready to go. I mean,
they'll be rested. They'll be rested, and we all know that they're desperate. I mean, the Niners are feeling like this is their best opportunity at a Super Bowl, and they're probably right. They've had playoff experience before. Even Brock tasted the difference in playoff football last year. I think even though it was only 6 snaps in the Philly game, he got 2 other games in there. I think he'll be better for the experience. I think they're ready. I think they're absolutely ready to fire a big effort.
Exactly, and to that point, I mean, Kyle Shanahan has been ready. I mean, building up his whole career for this moment, but you can just see it in the guys. His defense has been salivating for this, the chance to be able to go make a deep run into the playoffs. His offensive guys, Ayuk is ready to break out of that. Oh, I'm second tier wide receiver. Let me show you what I'll do in the playoffs. Kittle has been there. He's ready to get back and show you what I'll do in the Super Bowl. He's been waiting for that moment. Those guys are going to be waiting and ready to play. I mean, don't get me wrong. Green Bay Packers, they earned the right to be in the position that they're at, but they can't handle a defense like I mean, I'm sure the quarterback for the Packers, I'm sure he's going to be great. He's going to have a go on but his tight ends haven't faced Greenlaw and Fred Warner. His young wide receivers, all their wide receivers, first year players. They haven't lined up like all pro or against an all pro like Charvarius Ward, Ambry Thomas. He's not even known like that. He's playing some of the best ball. I mean, underrated all year. So I just think that Kyle Shanahan, one, is going to have his guys ready to go, and two, they're going to be ready without Kyle Shanahan. And then on the defensive side for the Packers,
go for it.
On the defensive side for the Packers, imagine lining up. It's raining. You're probably, you just came off of a bad or a good game against whatever 6 days ago. It's Saturday now. You're playing against the best offense in the league. You're lining up against CMC. He breaks off for 10 yards. CMC breaks off for another 10 yards. And then you look up and it's Deebo Samuel in the backfield. He's going to break off for another 20 yards or something like that. So they're going to break them down like it's nothing. Just keep going at them like that. And then play action pass, Ayuk down the field, Kittle down the field, Deebo down the field. I just think we got too many weapons against them.
I think you made one point that I totally agree with, which is I think the difference between the Niners and the Packers is on the second level of that defense. Now, Quay Walker had a big game last week, but Devondre Campbell can be picked on in coverage.
Mm-hmm.
The Niner linebackers are better, and they're rested, and they're ready. And I just think Greenlaw is going to have a big game. I think Warner is going to have a big game. I think the Niner linebackers are going to control things on that second level against Aaron Jones. And I think the Niners are going to isolate and some of those Green Bay linebackers and make some big plays on those backers. So that's if you said to me, why are the Niners going to win? I would say I think Purdy's going to play smart with the football, and I think the Niner linebackers are going to rule the day. I really do. They're not good players. They're great players. And the Green Bay linebackers are a little bit subpar. Campbell is productive player throughout his career, but he can definitely be picked on in space as a pass defender. And I think they will. They'll isolate him and they'll make him play coverage. And I think that's the major advantage for the 49ers.
No, Fozzie, he jumps.
Go ahead. One last point before we got a jet.
Yeah, he jumps the gun too a lot. I mean, I think that's where the game is going to be won. People will say like it's going to be won in the trenches, but I think if the 49er linebackers can hold at least their tight ends and the running back Aaron Jones into where it's not going to be them taking away that the middle of the field, I think we'll be all right.
All right, bro. Hey, thanks for chiming in, man.
Thanks, Fozzie.
Cheers, Kevin's dad. Good luck.
There you go. Fozzie and Hercules. Wait. Fozzie, Jeff, one last thing to say.
Have a good study night tonight, man.
There you go.
Thanks,
Fozzie and Hercules. Appreciate you, bro. A couple last supers. If we didn't get this one before, Debo predicted it. He told all of us. I think we got that. Alex Zubia. I think Green Bay will be tough, but I think the winning factor for us will be our recuperated health. 80 to 90% Armstead, fresh legs with Jennings, Jair. Yeah, I think you're right, Alan. Alex. I think that is going to be a big difference. Kev, you got a final thought before I give people kind of the rundown of the schedule for the week?
I was just going to say, I really like that linebacker point because that was Haberman's point. That is what Kyle Shanahan likes to do. And he did it against the Eagles. The Eagles had a very weak linebacking core, and he liked them to make the plays in space. He liked to, make them choose going high, low or high, and kind of separate them and make them play in space and kind of expose them. And Kyle's the best at that. Kyle's the best at exposing certain players with his play schemes. And I'm excited to see it.
We have this one in the chat too. Uncle Eddie 49ers says Packer linebacker Enigbare tore the ACL, and he wouldn't mind if Jair Alexander's out. I know Alexander's not going to be 100%. We saw he had an ankle injury, and he had a recurring injury in this game. All right, that is going to do it for us. We're quick in and quick out. Good hour plus hour and a half here. Let me just tell people what we got cooking the rest of the week. Tomorrow, I'll be down in Santa Clara. Kyle Shanahan speaks at 11:30. The locker room will be open around 11:45. And then tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, the great Vish Kumaran joins me for just a Krug and Vish duo extravaganza. So that's coming up tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And then Wednesday morning at 9 a.m., the great previously mentioned Guy Haberman's going to join us at 9 a.m. for a live stream. I'll be down in Santa Clara then talking to Steve Wilkes, Chris Forster, Brock Purdy, open locker room. And then Wednesday night, we'll have our call-in show Wednesday night, a regular call-in show. Thursday, Kyle Shanahan speaks at 1:35, and then we'll have some open locker room after that. And then at 6:30, we'll have the big show with Jesse and Vish and myself. Friday, 8 a.m. live stream with Damon Bruce, 10:45 live stream with Chase Sr., 4:30 live stream on Friday with Grant Cohn. We're going to go all day Friday. We may even go behind enemy lines for a Green Bay reporter working on that as well. That's Friday. So we're going to be basically live all day Friday. And then Saturday morning, 9 a.m., I'll do a live stream with the coach. And then I'll be off to Santa Clara. I'll be on the air on the radio with Lo Neal, 3 to 5 p.m. on 95.7 The Game doing pregame. And then afterwards, Kev and Rye and Danny and Baller and JD and everybody will join us for the postgame. And hopefully we'll be looking ahead to the division round and a likely meeting with the Detroit Lions, Tampa Bay Bucks winner, which I'm predicting is going to be the Lions. So big week on the channel. A lot of great stuff. Kev, good stuff tonight, man. What are you studying tonight?
Oh, don't even remind me. Soil science, soil mechanics, architectural engineering, soil mechanics. It's really exciting stuff. Basically about how the math around soil and how it affects construction. So that's
soil and
that's what I'm doing tonight.
Dusty Gold says, attack those books, Kev. Coffee or Red Bull?
Coffee. I don't really like Red Bull. I don't. It's not my thing.
Yeah. I'm not a big Red Bull. I'm not a coffee person either. I'll have some caffeine with like a Coke, but even then, I'm trying to quit that this year. So, that does it for us. Hey, we did. It's pretty rare that we go Monday call-in show, but I like it. We mix up the days. We mixed up some of the callers, and it's always. I love taking. My favorite thing to do on the radio was take calls, and my favorite thing to do on these live streams or take calls. And
because you're a man of the people.
I'm a man of the peeps. That's right. As Dusty Gold said, Larry's a whiskey guy. Thank you. Whiskey. All right. That's going to do it for us. Maybe I'll leave that comment up as we say goodbye. Thanks to our sponsors, Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week. Thanks also to Marin Auto Glass, 415-883-3030, and Underdog Fantasy and Mojo Fantasy. We're going to have a couple new sponsors here in 2024. We're looking forward to telling you about that. And Kev, for Kev Kruger, I'm Larry Kruger. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared.